Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Roadblock here. So today's video is going to be talking about Emic Trunkheart. Mainly what I want to focus on is how to go about doing the fusion, but I also kind of wanted to briefly go over his kit because I've been talking a lot about it in other videos, and I've never actually, I think, gone over specifically his kit. Now I have access to it, so we can kind of see what we're looking at. This is the recently nerfed ability where his A1 will increase the value of all shield buffs on him, as well as increase the value of shield buffs on an ally with the lowest HP by 25%. The value of the shield buffs cannot exceed 10,000 HP. And then we have um, over here with this A2, attacks all enemies, places a shield buff on all allies for 30% of this champion's max HP, and then decreases the cooldown of all ally skills except this champion's by 1 turn. Super valuable. Next, we have places an unkillable on all allies for 2 turns. This is on a 4 turn cooldown. Also places a taunt buff and a shield buff on this champion for 2 turns. The value of the shield is equal to 30% of this champion's max HP. So, and then let's do his passive. When attacked while under a shield buff, has a 50% chance of increasing the cooldown of a random skill on the attacker by 2 turns. Occurs once per attack. Whenever an ally's HP drops below 20%, increase the damage dealt by that ally by 20%. So the main thing that Trunkheart's going to be useful for is going to be a clan boss unkillable team. One of the reasons that I think he's going to be so much more powerful than, say, like a man eater. Um, Despite this is on a 4 turn cooldown. But the reason I think that he's going to be more powerful than man eater is the passive. Um, by increasing the damage dealt by that ally by 20%. If you take a look at the video I recently uploaded about unkillable teams, you'll note that finding the damage to one key clan boss is hard to do. This increases the damage of your entire team by 20% per character, because in an unkillable team you're always going to be essentially at 1% HP. So, or not 1%, but 1 HP. So if you're just sitting there at 1 HP throughout the entirety of the fight, everyone's going to be 20% stronger, which can help you achieve those damage goals easier than doing it in a um, traditional team where you just don't have that bonus damage, right? So I think he brings value in that. It's obvious it is on a plus he brings cooldown reduction. Now, this actually may be a detriment a little bit to his um capabilities in clan boss. You'll only be able to use him within certain teams. For example, using him with an Eris composition. I guess if you set her speeds in a way that account for this cooldown reduction, then you should be okay. But there is the fear that you would come out of sync with stuff like that. I don't know. I don't build these teams or calculators, but I'm sure Deadwood Jedi will have something on him here very soon. Now let's go outside of the realm of Clan Boss. Let's look at my account. Let's say, okay, on my account, I have an unkillable team that can one key Ultra Nightmare. I have peaked. I don't need any more unkillable champions. Why do I want Emic Trunkheart? Well, I want him because of Faction Wars. He will be extremely valuable to any team in Faction Wars. Cooldown reduction, number one. Unkillable, number two. These are going to be great for clearing the boss levels of Faction Wars as well as clearing the waves. You'll see that like all these rares I don't have any of them anymore. I do have like 4 of the Orns. So just imagine 4 Orns and an Emic Trunkheart, um, just basically keeping their uh, all their mass poisons just constantly popping. So I feel pretty confident that I'd be able to kill Faction Wars with Emic, which would get me closer to Lydia because I was not able to clear Faction Wars um, prior to Sylvan Watchers coming out. So that's the main reason that I want him. Also, Unkillable is a valuable ability. Certain damage dealers, for example, Mortu Macabre, attacks one enemy 2 times, will ignore shield and block damage buffs as well as all defense, right? Which is what this is what makes Mortu Macabre so dangerous, is that if Peril gets procced, he will one-shot your character. However, you'll notice it ignores shield and block damage. It doesn't ignore unkillable. If you're trying to make progress, let's say in Nightmare Campaign, and you're still trying to finish off Nightmare Campaign so you can get this Sacred right here, I think that Emic is a great opportunity for that because I believe it's a 2-turn cooldown. Or not 2-turn cooldown, but yeah, it's the value, the length of the shield is 2 turns. So one of the problems defeating Mortu when you're on Nightmare is he has a lot of HP and you have to hit him several times. If you get him to end up ultimately proc his Peril, you just die. But if you bring Unkillable, he does not one-shot your champion. Now, the normal way to do this is Paragon Cheese, but I think you'd be just as effective using Emic as an option there as well. So that was just a thought I had for him. Also, that same thing applies on certain Doom Tower waves that have Mortu Macabre in them. I feel like one of these waves was a Mortu wave the other day, and I had to beat it. And I struggled beating it at first, but if I had Emic Trunkheart, I'd have an easy way to beat it without suffering the wrath of Mortu Macabre. Well, I cannot seem to find... There he is, yeah. So this one gave me a little bit of trouble. I was able to eventually beat it, but if you are struggling with beating it, that is an option that you could use, which would be to bring Emic Trunkheart. So he does have a lot of value in the game. Definitely something that I would recommend for anybody if they can. Now let's talk about the Fusion event calendar. So, real quick, let me pull up this. Again, I've talked about this in an earlier video. For this, it is a hybrid. So all of these epics will be created from fragments, and then you will have to level and ascend to 5-star each one of those epics. And then if I pull up the calendar, you'll see here that there's very little room for error within this build. So you get 100 fragments here, 100 fragments here, 100 fragments on these 4 events, and 100 fragments on these 4 events. There are extra fragments from this summon rush. I do not recommend you going for them, as you will already be going for this summon rush here. Now, there is one thing I wanted to pull up. There we go. All right. Couple of notes that I want to make. Number 1, Dragon Tournament and this Dungeon Divers event do overlap. Dungeon Divers 1 does not appear to overlap with the Ice Golem Tournament. Therefore, you need all your Dungeon Diver Event 1 points to coincide with your Dragon Tournament points. Make sure that both of these are completed at the same time. You don't want to run into a situation where you're like, oh, well, I'll just do Ice Golem, and then this event ends, you're out 25 shards, and you only chance to make it up is with a summon rush, okay? For Dungeon Divers event number 2, the Ice Golem tournament clearly overlaps with that. So does the Fire Knight tournament. My recommendation would be to farm your 25 fragments of the Ice Golem tournament, and then finish off your Dungeon Diver event 2 on the very first day of Fire Night. It's close. You're only going to have probably 24 hours maybe for these to line up together, but you should be able to do that. Then for Dungeon Divers Event 3, you can do a little bit more Fire Night if you need to. And then you can finish it off with Spider Tournament. So make sure you're double dipping for these tournaments and Dungeon Divers. Same thing with like Champion Training. You'll also be getting points towards Dungeon Divers for all the gear that you get from Champion Training. But it's going to be way less points than what you would get from doing the major dungeons. Artifact enhancement events are pretty standard. If you need guides or help on how to do champion training tournaments and champion training events, there's a real neat trick to using brews in order to progress those events faster. I recommend you checking out those videos. I may, if you guys want me to make a video on it, let me know in the comments, let me know in the Discord, and I will make a video about how to improve your champion training stuff. Classic Arena is one that pretty much anybody should be able to get. Next I want to talk about the Summon Rush. This Summon Rush, and then we have the Champion Chase. So, this is a Yumi Love site. They do a tracker for shard events. So we just had a Void Shard event on 28 July. Oh, we're in August. 28 July. There we go. That was this last Friday. We had a Void Shard event. If you're like me, I spent all of my Void Shards on it. The next event is, this is speculation, this is not confirmed, but if it continues with the calendar, the next Ancient event would be 11 August 2023. Now, if we take a look at the Champion Chase tournament, it starts on Friday, August 11th. This is important because of this Summon Rush right here. When the Summon Rush starts tomorrow, guys, if you can, try to complete it without using Ancient Shards. For the Champion Chase tournament, you're going to have 2 times for your Ancients. That means an increased chance at pulling Epics and an increased chance at pulling Legendaries from your Ancient Shards. If you can save your Ancient Shards for the Champion Chase event, then you can get more benefit out of using your Ancients than you would during the Summon Rush. Now, we currently have no idea as to how much you need to summon to complete this Summon Rush. We won't know for another 16 or almost 17 hours. So, for me, I'm hoping that 6 Sacreds is enough to get the max fragments. If not, I might pop some Voids or maybe make up the difference with a whole bunch of Mystery Shards, which is going to be a pain in the ass, but I want to save my Ancients for that Champion Chase event. So that was kind of one of the things I wanted to point out. I noticed that that does line up with the 2X, and you have a chance of really kind of double dipping there as well. But that's pretty much all of it. One thing I would make sure to check out, take a look at your potion mixer today and take a look at how many potions that you have. I'm pretty sure Hell Hades, now that we know kind of how everything's going to work, they might have a breakdown on their website. In fact, let me just check real quick. That's the announcement. Do you have a guide? No. Usually they will have a fusion guide on Hell Hades site, which will say you need to have this many potion or this many um potions to complete the ascension. So what's very important is if that gets posted, I will mention it in the Discord, and maybe post it as a link as a comment on the video, should it arrive. But because you're going to need to ascend these champions in order to get him, you're going to need the force potions. Well, the force keep opens in 8 hours and 45 minutes. So if you need to get those potions, you need to do it Friday. And I really wanted to point that out, that the best time to do it will be coming up here in just a couple days. Or sorry, just a couple hours. So you want to make sure that you farm those potions now before you have to wait until the following Friday. Like, get ahead of it so that you don't have to waste your energy later on when you might be in the heart of a dungeon diver event or something along those lines. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover. So if you enjoyed this video, please let me know down in the comments. I put these videos out pretty frequently. I try to do once a day. It's not always that easy, but today I'm doing two. So if you do like this content, feel free to subscribe. If you can post in the comments, that helps me with algorithm things. And yeah, thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.